What if we lived differently? That's the question that started it all. Not a big, dramatic leap, just small, honest conversations, one choice at a time. Could we work full time from the road? Could we actually live in an RV and still feel like ourselves? Turns out, yeah, we could. We're Michael and Stephanie, and this is Live Beyond the Map. We started with an idea to take an extended trip in a used travel trailer, and that idea evolved into the next step, finding a larger RV who we lovingly call Rhubarbara, and making a 2 year commitment to each other and to this lifestyle. We started out with our two pit bulls, Ace and Siggy, and now we have Ace. Sadly, we lost Siggy along the way. And we built our space to feel like a home. This isn't about dropping out, it's about tuning in to freedom, flexibility, and the kind of life you choose on purpose, intentionally. Follow along with us as we take our journey and learn how to live on the map.
So here we are at home, at our house, rather, because it's funny because while it feels like home, this feels like home. So there's our trailer, our RV, Rhubarbara, in the front yard. And it's funny because inside our house, we had packed up all of our furniture before we left on our epic adventure. The sale of our house was supposed to go through on the 1st of September, and it did not. And we left on the 12th anyway. So, for all intents and purposes, we had moved out all of our furniture, everything went into storage. So, we find that we're going to be here for some time. We're not sure how long, but we moved some of our furniture in out of our RV into the house, including our RV mattress, which we're still sleeping on the one that came with it with a topper, and so maybe we'll take this opportunity to get a different one. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. So it's see it in our front yard, which is awesome. We have some pretty great neighbors who who are okay with it for now. We'll have to. I called the police department, so we'll have to move it for this weekend for code enforcement. So we'll put it in storage for a little while. So we'll spend some time cleaning it and prepping it um, for some storage, and then kind of get us settled in our house. So it's kind of interesting though to be kicking off this. Here's our RV travels, and by the way, we're putting it in storage for a little while. But this is part of the life, right? This is part of some of the things that we have to do, right? Because life is like on life's terms, and it happens the way it's going to happen, not the way we always think it's going to happen. Uh, so I'll be spending some time tomorrow. I'll take you along with me getting it cleaned up and prepped. I'll show you the things I like to do before we put it in storage. We've had it in storage one other time when we were on vacation. The cleaning protocol that we do, and it's going to be different for everyone. In the Pacific Northwest, we're worried about mold, we're worried about moisture, whereas we were in Southern California last week and Nevada, and we were worried about the sand and the dryness. And the last time we were worried about some of the hail. So the different regions are going to necessitate different types of preparation. But I'll show you what we do. You'll get some ideas or not, or you can leave me some ideas in the comments. But we'll go from there. One of the things they told us is we could not have any food, not just non-perishables, in our RV when it's in storage. So I had thought to leave, some things that were uh, okay in a pantry for a few months, but that is not the case. I am going to leave the emergency freeze dried food, which I don't think we've talked a lot about that. I don't know if a lot of people keep it. Um, when we move full time, I keep a pretty full pantry. That's just how it was when I grew up. It was a pretty remote situation, and so we didn't always have access to groceries as often. If there were storms, it was an island, and um, I was just brought up keeping a pretty full pantry. My mom canned and preserved a lot of food. So for me, it's kind of second nature to have a pretty full pantry. And that hasn't changed being on the road. That's something I really like, is to be able to just get in my pantry, make a meal out of the stuff. And we all know what pantry meals are. But one thing that we discovered on the road was, um, and I'm really grateful, is that we thought, well, there might be situations that we're stuck in from weather that we would just need to have some emergency food. So we had some at our home, and we have some for hiking and camping. So these adventure eats, I'm not advocating any particular brand, just demonstrating. It says this is 2 servings, but I don't think it is. Anyway, so recently, in well, March this year, many of you were in a similar situation to us where you're traveling and then the winds came up, right? So we were in Oklahoma. We fled Oklahoma to get to, we thought we'd be okay in New Mexico at the time. The weather forecast, we thought we could get past Albuquerque and we'd be okay. Turns out, as much, we fled Oklahoma. We were in a town called Ardmore, and we left and we went. we went west and we thought, okay, we'll get past Amarillo, which is a good thing we did because Amarillo got it rough during that storm. That's where the semis were tipping over in 80-mile-an-hour winds. We thought if we can get to the other side of Albuquerque, but we were going into headwinds, and our trip took us probably at least a third more time than we thought it would. I think we were getting like 5 miles per gallon and into the headwinds. We were just making very slow going, and the winds were picking up. So ultimately, we pulled over at a truck stop. No, it was a rest stop on I-40, about an hour and a half outside of Albuquerque. We didn't make it. It was about 11 o'clock at night, and we pulled over to rest. We were going to press on. And anyway, by the time we got done using the restroom and taking the dog out, we ended up um, deciding the winds were too strong. In that half hour they picked up to that was just very unsafe for us to be on the road. So we pulled over, and they came up so fast. I think later we heard they were gusts up to 72 miles an hour. And it was frightening. It was very frightening. I'm not going to lie. So we ended up staying in the cab of our truck. We thought we were heading to the wind. There were some semis situated around us. They were also pulled over because it was unsafe. And, we did a little praying to make sure that we were, just like did what we could because we felt pretty helpless. But what we had done, it was we had thought to put a whole box of these meals in the basement of our rig. We could not pull out our slides. But the way ours is set up, if we're careful and leave the door open, we can squeeze through and we can get to this kind of area right here in our pantry, and we always have bottled water. So, and we had water in our tanks too, which we always leave ours pretty full. We were able to boil up some water and then have some hot meals. And we did that. I hate to say the word stuck. We chose to stay put on the side of the road for I think about 30 hours. It was at least 24 when we finally got on our way. We ended up leaving kind of in the middle of the night because the winds were down enough to allow us safe travel. And so we had several meals, and I can't recommend it enough. And not only can I not recommend enough having something, a few meals like this, 24 hours in the grand scheme of things is not a long time. And we had propane, we had water, we had resources. But, God forbid there's something a little bit worse that allows it where services can't get out or in. So, have a box of these. We picked them up at Costco. It's like $35 or something, but it's going to be the difference. And between you and going hungry or putting yourself in a rough situation, not necessarily. But not only that, this is apparently we're having a safety moment. Is keep it not with all your other food. If I had not had them in our basement of our rig, Rhubarbara, we would have not been able to access our pantry without putting our slide out. And we may have gone ahead and done it, but it would have been kind of precarious in winds that were gusting that much. I mean, we were trying to walk and just really couldn't even walk well. So anyway, yeah, I just highly recommend it. You have it, and we. So it's coming along. We're getting there. We're in the final stretches. And I went to use our vacuum, and it's not charged. So for today, because of the time, we've got to be somewhere in the next hour and a half to get us into storage before it closes. We're going to have to skip the stick vacuum today. But yeah, just a good PSA to keep your vacuum cleaner charged. Right, honey?
Sure.
think it's time to share a little more about Rhubarbara. She's a 2023 Keystone Arcadia 3550MB. The MB stands for mid bunk, but in our case, we turned it into my office. Although we can still host a guest back there, it's not exactly roomy. Definitely not super comfortable for more than one person or for anyone on the taller side. Just ask my son about that. Even though she's a 2023, she was considered used when we bought her. She didn't have an owner before us, but she was used as a demo model at multiple RV shows, so she was essentially brand new when we brought her home in 2024. We recently found, after chatting with the Keystone product manager, that they don't even make this model anymore. They've shifted the Arcadia line to more toward half-ton towable versions. We've never seen another one in the wild, but we're always looking, not like in a creeper way, but just looking. She has a unique two-tank design for fresh water, about 120 gallons, which is a lot compared to other fifth wheels in this class we found. One tank is about 80 gallons and the other is about 40, and it's tucked underneath our bed, which takes away our under the bed storage, but it's been worth it for us. We had an Onan 5500 generator installed when we bought her as well. We were tired of hauling around a traditional generator that we had on our first trip with our Springdale. It was loud, it was picky about ventilation, and getting it to run without shutting off mid conference call was kind of a crapshoot. So our goal is to eventually spend more time doing boondocking than staying in parks or campgrounds. So having a solid generator is a. We're also in the process of expanding our solar setup. We'll share more about that another time. We've had a few boondocking experiences already, but for now we're pretty happy with what we've got. Every trip teaches us a little more about who we are and what we value and how we want to live. That's the beauty of living beyond the map. We get to shape our journey as we go, and we're free to change our minds anytime we want. Thanks for watching. We hope you'll follow us on our journey.